What's going on YouTube? It's Tej, back again with another video, and today we are continuing our way too early regular season record predictions, and today we're going to talk about the 4 teams in the NFC East. So let me hear your record predictions for all 4 of these squads down below in the comment section. Who do you think wins the division? Whether teams might sneak into the playoffs? And then where would you rank this division as among the best in the NFL? Is it number 3? Is it number 4? Is it somewhere closer to the bottom? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Hit that like button if you do. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And of course, shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. If you want to learn more about all their offerings and their sign-up bonuses, all that is down in the description. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. We start with the Philadelphia Eagles. You can see 4-2 division record, 13-4 overall. And jumping right into it, I think they're better than the New England Patriots. And we've already talked about the AFC East. So some of these games were already filled in, but just in case you're maybe new and check out that AFC East video, all these games are already pre-filled just to kind of streamline this process a little bit. To me, they're slightly better than the Vikings. I think less holes on the defensive side, even though I do think that Brian Flores hire is huge for Minnesota. I think there's just less holes offensively and defensively, honestly, just kind of across the board for Philadelphia, and they're at home. We kind of saw the same matchup. I think it was week 2 last year as well, where Philadelphia came up with a big win against Minnesota, but I don't think it was on Thursday night, so a little bit different there. But Thursday night games tend to lean towards the home team. I think they're better than Tampa Bay. I think the Bucs roster outside of quarterback is actually pretty solid, but it's Baker Mayfield versus Jalen Hurts. I'll go with Jalen Hurts there. I have them sweeping Washington. Yeah, I can see that second game there on the schedule too, and we'll kind of come back to that. Washington almost serves as the New England of this division, where you change that division record just a little bit, and all of a sudden this team could be right there in that 500-ish conversation. But ultimately, I think Philadelphia will be able to get both games. But I don't know. It's a rivalry. It's division games are always weird. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest where Washington wins one of these out of the 2 matchups. And also kind of hitting on the same point that I hit in the AFC East video. Focus on the record. The individual games, yes, you could flip a game here, you could flip a game there. You know, to use an example from the Bills, from the AFC East video, they go Philadelphia, bye week, Kansas City. And I had them losing to Philadelphia, but beating Kansas City after the bye. There's easily a world where you could still be beaten on the other way around, but the record is the same. Maybe they beat Philadelphia, go to the bye week, lose to Kansas City and Arrowhead. Totally a possibility. But ultimately, the record stays the same. So, again, focus on the wins and losses and the division record more so than the individual games. But if you want to tell me where I'm wrong and what game should be flipped, I'd love to hear your thoughts on why. But anyways, yeah, I do have them sweeping the Washington Commanders. It's just I don't know what I'm getting with Sam Howell. So that unpredictability is a little fickle, and it makes it hard to kind of predict where that team might go. And ultimately, I just think, again, the Eagles are going to have one of those rosters that you don't see a glaring weakness, so I think they can win in a variety of ways, just like we saw last year. They're better than the Rams. I'll give them the win over the Jets. That was one in the Jets, the AFC East video where it's like, maybe the other way around, depending on how that secondary is holding up right there in Philadelphia. But they got so much depth that even with an injury or two, I think they'd be able to weather the storm, depending on who those injuries are. And then on the other side, this is going to be an awesome matchup. That Philadelphia offense versus New York Jets defense. If the Jets defense is as good as it was last year, that is going to be one of the best matchups we could see in week 6 or potentially all season long. That Philly offense versus that Jets defense could be, one of the best battle between 2 different units. But I'll give the edge this time to Philadelphia. But again, a game you could easily sell me on going the other way. Have them taking this game against Miami, another one that could easily change. But talked about this in the AFC East video as well. Miami's super explosive and a bunch of big playability, but Philadelphia's depth and rotation ability, both in the secondary and across the defensive line, I think they'll be able to stay fresh and actually be able to kind of hold their own a little bit better than most defenses against Miami. So at home as well, I'll give Philadelphia that win. Again, another win against Washington. Have them splitting with Dallas. You can see it's a home and home split this time around. Philly wins before they go on bye, and then ultimately it's going to be a Dallas win in week 14. Again, those 2 teams, they tend to play each other pretty close, and a split, it feels likely, honestly. Then you get the bye week and Super Bowl rematch. You get the bye, is that enough to, get a win over Kansas City? I did it with the Bills, so maybe I'm being a little hypocritical, talking on both sides of my mouth. But ultimately, Monday Night Football, I'll give Kansas City the win. But another one that could easily go in any direction. These are 2 of the best teams in football. There's probably a 5-team bucket for me right now that I call legit Super Bowl contenders. Like, I would call them the front runners. And these 2 teams are both in it. So again, 50-50 game. I'll give it to Kansas City because they're at home. But Philadelphia's coming off the bye. So again, you can tell on any argument. I got the Eagles taking down the Bills here. Part of it's at home. This is a game where I just look at Stephon Diggs and who else might step up for Buffalo, and I don't have that answer to that question yet. Versus Philadelphia, I know they'll be able to win in a variety of ways, and especially no Tremaine Edmonds. I can see this as a game where the Eagles control the clock, they win on the ground, and they keep that Bills offense watching on the sideline. I can totally see this as like a double-digit carries game for Hurts, heavy emphasis on the running backs and even getting A.J. Brown in the mix there as well. So I can totally see where this is a game where the emphasis on controlling time of possession and controlling the clock in the favor of Philadelphia. All right, then we get to this San Francisco game. And this almost plays as, hey, maybe Buffalo beats Philadelphia, but then Philadelphia bounces back with a win against San Francisco. Could totally see that. So had to give them a win in one of these tough games. Had to give them a loss in the other. Same thing with the Kansas City game, where if they go 2-3 in that 3-game stretch of Kansas City, Buffalo, and San Francisco, again, all three of those teams I'd put in that legit front-running Super Bowl bucket right there with Philadelphia and then the Cincinnati Bengals, the other team that are missing here. But yeah, they have this gauntlet stretch from week 11 to 13. I have to keep that in the back of my mind. But yeah, and I am taking into account strength of schedule, and this Philly team does, it has not the hardest schedule, actually the easiest schedule in the NFC East, which is a little surprising. And with this, stretch, it may be a little surprising as well. But that is based off Sharp Analytics and their projected win totals. So maybe we'll find out a little bit more once we get into the season. But man, if they come out 2-3 in that 3-game stretch, they'd be happy. But even 1-3, I don't think is the end of their season. Then we talked about that loss to Dallas already. And then we get to a game with Seattle. I think Philadelphia's just a little bit better. Seattle almost just kind of plays as like the poor man's version of Philadelphia in a lot of ways. Their strengths are kind of similar. Their depth and various areas is almost similar. Just the edge conversation is a little different, where Philadelphia's loaded at edge, and I think Seattle could probably add to that group. But otherwise, I can see there's some similarities between these two squads. But I just think Philadelphia does a little bit better. I'll give the Giants the win here. A team that I struggled to find wins for. So sorry, Giants. They again, kind of like Washington, almost plays the New England of this division, where I wish I could have given them a few more wins, but it just didn't happen. And they also have a really hard schedule. Talk about that in a little bit. Philadelphia's better than Arizona. Sorry, Cardinals fans. And then, like I said, it's a split with the Giants. So I'll say the road and road split. Giants get the win in Week 16, Philly in Week 18. All that amounts to a 13-4 record, which is what I predicted the Eagles would have last year. And I was ahead of the curve on that. So hopefully I am right once again this season. All right, next up, the Dallas Cowboys, 12-5. So 1-game difference. I think Dallas is not too far off. And also, we have to take into account schedule here. And Philadelphia has the 13th, quote-unquote, easiest schedule. Dallas isn't too far behind at 18th. These two teams have the easiest schedule in the NFC East. So I also think that impacts their potential high standing in the division as well. And that could be part of why Dallas maybe is able to go stride for stride versus Dallas had the hardest schedule in the league. Maybe there's more separation between them and Philly. But anyways, I have them beating the Giants to start out the year. And I do, if I remember correctly, I have that being a series split. Yes, I do, with the Giants winning in Week 10, so I do have that to be a division split. 4-2, I guess the sweep for Dallas came against Washington. Sorry, Commanders fans, kind of picking on you now. Have them winning that Week 2 game against the Jets. The Jets might be a better team, but Dallas tends to get onto hot starts, especially with that offense clicking, so I'll give them the edge there at home. They're better than Arizona. Not much to talk about there. New England, talked about this in the AFC East video. I can see where this is that 1 to 2 games a year where Bill Belichick and that defense just suffocates an offense. Wouldn't totally shock me, but again, Dallas is prone to hot starts. I'll say that offense is clicking and is too much for New England to keep up with. San Francisco, I think, is just a better team to be able to control the clock, win on the ground, and kind of do that same formula they've had a ton of success with against Dallas. I think that trend continues. I'll say they beat the Chargers again this year. It was a Week 2 matchup last year. But two teams that I see pretty similarly, legit playoff contenders that if things break right could move themselves in that Super Bowl conversation. And Chargers at home, Monday Night Football, maybe there's enough to say that they should win, but also the Chargers have no real home field advantage, not like Denver, not like Miami in the blistering heat. There's some places where it's like legitimately hard to go and play there. And I don't think the Chargers really have that type of advantage, so I'll give Dallas the edge there. So then we're on to the bye week, and Dallas follows it up by taking on the Rams. I just think they're a better team than the Rams. Who knows? The Rams might be better than I'm expecting, but I think there's going to be a lot of holes in that defense, and I just don't think that offense is going to get back to the same heights that they had 2 years ago. Again, split with Philadelphia, split with the Giants. Have them beating Carolina. Again, we'll see what Bryce Young looks like at this point in the year. Wouldn't surprise me if he's better than or just ahead of the curve. But for right now, even with Bryce Young maybe clicking, the wide receivers don't really wow me. But, at home, they got enough contributors. They got enough guys making some big plays through the air to help out Bryce Young. And, okay, yeah, maybe this is possible because I like that defense a good bit, too. I just trust the firepower that Dallas has a little bit more. Sweep against Washington. I'll take Dallas Thursday night at home. It's a little bit of a travel there for Seattle, but nothing too crazy. Really, this is going to come down to what secondary slows down the other more. Can Diggs and Gilmore hold their own against, Metcalf and Lockett and JSN? Or is it, Devon Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen that shuts down Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb and company? So whoever wins that cornerback versus wide receiver matchup, I think, wins this game. I'll say that Dallas takes it at home. So with the Eagles, Bills are just better. Sorry, Dallas, but that could definitely be one where they steal one on the road. Wouldn't surprise me, but right now I think the Bills are just a slightly better squad. Then we get this Miami matchup. I changed this actually on the fly midway through last week, and part of that was because I think the Bills still win the AFC East, and I needed to basically give Dallas another win to go from 10-7 to 11-6. I needed to take one away from Miami, so this one just kind of naturally gave me everything I was looking for. But yeah, Dallas, when their offense is clicking and it's at 100, I mean, the blowout against the Vikings, the shootout win against the Eagles, they have some really impressive wins on the resume from last year, and it's when their offense is just working in, clicking on full cylinders, right? So if this is one of those games, I think they could go toe-to-toe with Miami. Anything short of that, probably not. But I'll say here, Week 16, they have that, kind of shootout type of game like they did with Philadelphia right around this time of the year, and they score a big road win. It wouldn't surprise me, but it'll take pretty much near a perfect game for that offense. Then I'll give the Lions to win over Dallas. Maybe this is the game I could flip, but I think Dallas is going to be, I think Detroit's going to be a good squad with a really, really good offense and an improved defense. So wouldn't surprise me either, and this is kind of where we start to get to meltdown territory. Week 16, that's kind of where it's like, I think Dallas could still be playing good football. Week 17, Week 18, all right, here we go. Meltdown inbound. So I'm predicting that a little bit, but I also think Detroit, it's just going to be a legit good offense and a good squad. And then I have them beating Washington in Week 18, getting a little bit of redemption for that ugly Week 18 loss from last season. So all in all, I have the Dallas Cowboys going 12-5, 4-2 in the division. And then two teams that I wish I could have given more wins to, but look, the Giants, I just don't know what that wide receiver position is going to look like. Darren Waller will have to stay healthy. What's the status of that offensive line? Is Evan Neal taking a step forward? Is the interior, as good as it could be? Is someone on the edge going to step up? Kayvon Thibodeau definitely has that potential. Can Azeez Ojulari stay healthy? And then it's Deonte Banks hitting the ground running. Sometimes it takes corners a year or two, and sometimes they hit the ground running. I love Deonte Banks as a prospect, but there's just a lot of question marks for this Giants team. And also, talking schedules, Commanders have the 24th easiest schedule, which would in turn be the 8th hardest or 9th hardest. 9th hardest. And then the Giants have the 19th easiest schedule, but they're still on the other side of half the league where it's like they're more so on the harder side versus than easier. So that kind of skewed both these teams' record as well. We've already talked about the Dallas game. They're better than the Cardinals, so there's one of your wins. San Francisco's just better. Seattle's just a better team that I can put more faith in them being able to win through the air with Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN versus Daniel Jones and that motley crew of wide receivers. Same thing with the Dolphins. I'm sorry, the Giants wide receiver room is not keeping up with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Same thing with the Bills. It may be Diggs, and I'm wondering about who else, but it's still Stephon Diggs that the Giants don't really have. Jets, better quarterback, better wide receivers. The edge might be with coaching, but when it comes to head coaches, not by much. Maybe with the OCs, there's a little bit more of an area of advantage there for the Giants. But give me the Jets in the battle between the two New York squads. I'll give them the win over the Raiders. And then, of course, we were talking about the split with the Cowboys, as well as there's going to be a split with Washington. Raiders, you could definitely flip this game, right? Like, Devontae Adams could go bananas, have 200-plus yards, and score a couple tuds. And it's like, yep, okay, you can't stop the Raiders' offense when he's doing that. But, is Jimmy Garoppolo playing? All those sort of question marks I feel a little bit better about. The mismatches that Giants offense can present against that bad Raiders defense versus, having to go toe-to-toe and keep up with Miami's offense and things like that. Here it's like, hey, we're playing a bad defense. We can take advantage of Daniel Jones and his rushing ability. And Saquon Barkley might go for 200-plus yards just because the Raiders can't stop a nosebleed on the ground. So, I can see all that kind of working out. This feels a little bit better of an offensive matchup for the Giants to take advantage of. Talked about the Cowboys. Talked about the Commanders. Patriots, I'll give them the win here, and it's kind of a fun storyline because it's Bill Belichick and, former DC for the Giants. So, I didn't have any really strong convictions in the AFC East video when talking about this game, but I might like the defense a little bit better for the Giants, but at the same time, I think Mac Jones. Maybe there's just more upside in him versus what I think there is in Daniel Jones. And maybe a little bit more offensive firepower. Devontae Parker just got that extension. Mike Gesicki. So we got Hunter Henry. Not really in love with either team winning this game. And honestly, this is one of those games that I don't know what time this game's going to be at, but this is going to be one. If it's at 1 o'clock, this will be an easy 1 o'clock game for me to admit, unless things get spicy late. It could go either way. It's a true 50-50 coin toss. Bye week, then they get Green Bay. And, with the bye week, yeah, maybe you do give them the win here, but I think the Packers should be better than some team expect. I'm kind of thinking 8-9 for Green Bay. I think there's still firepower to work with around Jordan Love. The offensive line, if healthy, is still going to be solid, and I think it's going to be one of the best defenses in football as well, and it's a well-coached squad as well. So how many times can I say as well in one sentence? But I think the Packers are just ever so slightly better than the Giants. The Saints, kind of the same thing. I think the Saints might be the best team in the NFC South. Complete roster, and as long as there's no major injuries, they're not having to go too deep into the roster and, have man 53 play. I think this team will be okay. I think Derek Carr ultimately is an upgrade over Andy Dalton. I think he's in a better situation there in New Orleans versus playing under Josh McDaniels in Vegas last year. So I'll give the Saints the win there at home. And then the Giants going a little bit of a heater to end the year, a couple of wins before the Week 18 loss to the Eagles, which that in itself is a split. They play twice in 3 weeks. That's always weird how that happens at least once in the NFC East. And then they're better than the Rams, I think, right now. But that's another one where if the Rams are better than kind of what I'm thinking they'll be, then that could be another one that flips the other way. So 6-11, you change the division record, change some of the, actually don't even really change the division record because it's just kind of splits across the board. But this could be a team that's exceeding my expectations, but I'm also taking into account the strength of schedule. If this team had the second easiest schedule in the league, I could see 10-7. I really could. But they have one of the harder schedules in the league. So because of that, they get curtailed a little bit. All right, last thing to talk about is the Washington Commanders. And again, this team has the 9th hardest schedule in the NFL. And boy, oh boy, is that clear. They're better than the Cardinals, so they'll start out the year on a strong note. Going to Denver this early in the year, it's always hard to play at Denver, but especially early on, players will tell you like that climate and that mile high really takes a toll on you when you're not at peak physical, conditioning maybe at that point in the year, and you're still a little bit on the getting prepared side maybe. So I'll give the Broncos that win. Also, I just think Denver, I like that offense maybe a little bit more as long as Russ does get somewhat back on track. The Bills are better. The Eagles are better than Washington. I'll give Washington the win over Chicago, but don't be surprised if the impact of DJ Moore plus Darnell Wright, kind of completing that wide receiver room, finishing and getting those last touches on that offensive line. Don't be surprised if Chicago is better than Washington by this point in the year, even by week 5. Like, I could totally see it. It comes down to Justin Fields. Can he take that next step forward? I think he does. So I wouldn't be surprised if ultimately Chicago wins this game. And I'll give Washington the win over Atlanta. Sam Howell versus Desmond Ridder, a couple second-year guys. I really don't know what I'm getting into. But defense, I'll give the advantage there to Washington. I do think that defense is pretty legit. I think the pass rush could be pretty awesome. And yeah, I think there's improvements for the Atlanta defense, but I feel a little bit more sure trusting what I think Washington's defense is going to be versus anticipating and hoping I know what Atlanta's defense is going to be all about. I have them splitting with the Giants. Actually have them being swept by the Eagles. Yeah, I have them being swept by the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Cowboys is one where you could easily flip that game. But have them splitting with the Giants, losing to the Patriots. Battle between two good defenses. Ultimately, this could be kind of like that Patriots-Jets game that finished, 10-3, and it was a Marcus Jones punt return touchdown, that kind of one. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this game kind of turns into that. But I trust Mac Jones just a little bit more, Bill O'Brien, and what he's bringing to that offense. And I don't know, but even I say that Eric Bieniemy, as long as he lives up to snuff, like he's kind of worth the hype. I like the wide receivers more in Washington too. So this is Mac Jones versus Sam Howell. I think Jones is a little bit better, but who knows what we're getting with Sam Howell. He might surprise me. Seattle, Geno Smith, those wide receivers are awesome. And it's Geno Smith versus Sam Howell. So yeah, I'll take that. Plus that secondary now in Seattle is pretty legit. So I think that's a Tariq Woolen, Devon Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, one of those guys should be able to step up and slow down Terry McLaurin just enough to put enough offensive production on the board. Or to talk about the Giants game, or to talk about the Cowboys game. Miami, that offense, sorry, I think that's going to be too daunting of a task for Sam Howell to go toe-to-toe with Tua in that offense. Bye week, then they get the Rams, so I'll give them a win over the Rams. I promise Los Angeles fans, I'm not going to have you go 0-17. I'm just going to have to find where those wins are going to come from. Jets, sorry, just a better team again. Better quarterback. San Francisco, better team. Quarterback situation, we'll see what it develops into, but it's Debo, it's Kittle, it's that running game, it's that Kyle Shanahan offense, and in a revenge game, he's the former Washington OC. That's kind of fun. But I like San Francisco a little bit more. And then Dallas beats Washington in Week 18 as a part of a sweep. So again, you can easily take one of the wins away from Dallas, give it to Washington, and get this record up even higher. But 5-12, considering they have the 9th hardest schedule, and this is still a team that has a question mark at quarterback, and The offensive line's okay, not great. And the secondary, there's pieces I like, but do we really know it's going to be a great unit? Not really. So yeah, I think there's going to be enough limiting factors to have this be kind of a disappointing season in Washington. This will allow new ownership to fire Ron Rivera. Maybe they ask Eric Bieniemy to step into the head coaching role. We'll see how the offense looks this year, but ultimately I do think this is going to be the last year of Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio in the nation's capital, and then TBD on Bieniemy. But guys, that's going to do it for my NFC East. Way too early record predictions. Let me hear what your thoughts are down below. Where was I right? Where was I wrong? What games would you flip? And ultimately, who do you think wins the NFC East? I'd love to hear all your thoughts and early hot takes down below in the comments section. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hit that like button if you did. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and see more football content like this. But that's going to do it for me. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Teach, and I am signing off.